Hi, I'm Andrew Seligsohn, president of Campus Compact, and I just wanted to say a few words about the civic action planning process that you are getting ready to undertake. And I thought I'd start by saying a little bit about where this initiative comes from. And it's tied up with the fact that last year was Campus Compact's 30th anniversary. And on that occasion, our leadership, our national board, leaders of our state boards, executive directors, came together to ask the question, how far have we gotten? And to answer that question, we had to go back a little bit and say, well, where did we start? What was the initial purpose of Campus Compact? And the answer we discovered and we knew, but we kind of relearned, was that Campus Compact was created to ensure that higher education is consistently contributing to the advancement of democracy. And when Campus Compact was founded, there was a real concern that higher education was not doing enough to sustain and support and advance democratic goals. And so the leadership of Campus Compact in its origins were all about creating the conditions under which colleges and universities could work together to get better and better at being effective agents of democratic change. So when we look back and thought about where we've come, the first thing we noted was we have done a lot. We, Campus Compact, we, our member institutions, other organizations, public officials, the federal government have all contributed to developing an enormous and strong infrastructure for supporting higher education community engagement and the public purposes of higher education. That infrastructure looks like centers and institutes on our campus. It looks like faculty development programs through Campus Compact, other organizations, member institutions. It looks like programs supporting community-based research. It looks like the journals we have across our field to share the best knowledge about the work we're doing. It's an enormous and impressive change, and for 30 years worth of work, it's an incredible outcome. At the same time, when we think about that same 30-year period, the challenges that we were created to address, those challenges have grown. Our society has become more polarized, both politically and in other ways. The inequality that was always a feature of our landscape has exploded in the last 30 years, deepening divides along all sorts of divides. And so we are facing real challenges. The good news is we have this enormous infrastructure for engagement so that higher education can do our part. So as we thought forward based on that analysis, we thought what we need to do is figure out how to ensure that the infrastructure we have built is deployed for maximum impact. Impact for students to create democratic, engaged citizens, and impact for communities to help create the conditions for opportunity and equity and justice across our country. The Civic Action Planning Initiative grew out of that thinking. We thought it made sense to ask our member institutions, their presidents and chancellors, to recommit to the values undergirding higher education community engagement, and also to have a practical outcome of that commitment in the form of a public plan that says this is how we are going to realize those values in practice, how we are going to work with our communities to make positive change, to produce the more democratic, the more just, the more equitable and sustainable society that all of us want. So that's how we got to where we are. More than 400 institutions, as I record this, have signed on and made this commitment, and we are now collectively undertaking the work of building the campus civic action plans that will make that change possible. I just want to say a few things about the nature of the planning work and the opportunities I think it creates for our campuses and our communities. The first thing I'd say about that work is to build a campus civic action plan will require many and diverse voices. And that's true in a variety of senses. So on the one hand, we will need our students to be at the table. We will need faculty and staff to be at the table. We will need senior leaders to be at the table. We will also need members of the campus community who are not always involved in the community engagement conversation to be at the table. People who direct purchasing for the campus and have the opportunity to have tremendous impact on creating economic opportunity for small businesses. People who develop real estate for the campus and have a tremendous impact on communities adjacent to the campus as campuses grow. People who are involved in admissions and financial aid and play a crucial role in creating pathways to opportunity for members of historically underserved communities. All of these folks should be at the table in this conversation about a civic action plan. So, of course, should members of communities beyond the campus to whom the campus is connected, community residents, leaders of significant organizations, public officials. All of these people have a place at the table as the campus thinks about how it will engage as a supportive participant in an increasingly equitable and just community ecosystem. So that's one thing, is expand the range of people involved in the conversation as you undertake this plan. A second thing to think about is to move beyond thinking about specific programs or specific initiatives and really think about the fabric of your campus as an engaged institution. So that means thinking about questions like this. Do we have on our faculty, on our staff, among our students, in our leadership, the capacity we need to engage effectively? How do we need to get better as members of our campus community at doing the work of engagement, and how can we get ourselves there? Do we have systems and policies in place that support and encourage the work of engagement? And if not, how do we get there? Do we have a campus culture that values engagement and says that the public purposes of higher education are in fact the purposes of higher education, so that when we interpret those policies and put those systems into practice, we do so in ways that reflect the deepest values and commitments that our institutions are engaged in? So that's a second idea, is think about how fundamental change is possible through this planning process and how you can become a different and better institution through this work. And a third thing I would suggest you think about is how to integrate the work of engagement through and across the institution. And here's an example of that. Let's say you have a partnership with a public school system supporting academic learning for K-12 students. That's a really good thing to do. It's important work. Are you thinking also about the parents of those students, about how, for example, your human resources department might be connecting with those parents to create economic opportunity for them today, to support the households that you're connected to through education? Are the folks who develop real estate for your campus thinking about those same families and how the campus's development can create an increasingly supportive environment for the community that you're working with through your K-12 partnership? Are your purchasing people thinking about how local purchasing might be giving opportunities to small businesses that are being started by parents of the kids in the schools? Does your business program have opportunities to help folks with ideas for small businesses develop those? Are there ways you can think about all of those things in an integrated fashion that doesn't just create opportunities for one-time connections or short-term links, but that in a deeper way builds a long-term connection between the campus and the community in ways that are supportive of the kinds of goals about democracy and equality and opportunity that motivate this work in the first place? So that's the third thing. Those three things, getting a broad and diverse range of voices around the table, thinking beyond programmatic change to fundamental institutional change, and integrating your engagement work to maximize impact. Those will go a long way toward enabling your institution to further realize the democratic purposes of higher education. Two final thoughts about this process. One is that the things we're talking about doing don't necessarily cost anything. Frequently, the things you're doing now, you could be doing in slightly different ways for much greater impact. So that's one point. The second thing is that we have an opportunity collectively to change the public dialogue about higher education in America. All of us would like to live in a world where public officials, citizens, and others understand higher education as an important contributor to positive change in the country. We are that, and we can be that to a greater degree, and moreover, we can call attention to the ways we are transforming ourselves to further the public purposes of higher education. So I thank you for engaging in this process. I invite you to call on Campus Compact anytime you need us or can use us to support you in this process, and I'm excited to see the products of your work. Thank you.